It's time to throw it over to Mikey P with your Rangers Ed 150, the fastest 150 seconds in the National Hockey Podcast League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rangers Ed 150. Now that we have some games under our belts, we're finally starting to see where teams are shaking out after all those offseason moves. Out west in the Pacific Division, Vegas has started the season 6-0, and they're the first team in NHL history to do so after winning the Stanley Cup. On the other side of the coin, the Kraken and Oilers have absolutely dismal offensive starts and sit at 1-4-1 and 1-3-1 respectively. Vancouver's looked solid defensively despite dropping 2 since we talked last week, but expect them to fall down the standings as Edmonton and Seattle get into their rhythms and their offenses get moving. In the Central Division, to nobody's surprise, the Avalanche and Stars are in the 1 and 2 spots and are 5-0-0 and 3-0-1 respectively. The rest of this division is an absolute mess. Arizona and Nashville each have 3 wins, and St. Louis, Chicago, Minnesota, and Winnipeg all have 2 wins apiece. Like we said last week, Colorado and Dallas appear to be light years ahead of the rest of this division. But somebody has to come in third place, and it's going to be an interesting battle between the likes of Nashville, Minnesota, and Winnipeg for that third place spot, with Arizona and Chicago likely looking in. In the Atlantic Division, the third and final undefeated team in the NHL this season is the Boston Bruins, and they sit atop the division at 5-0-0, followed closely by the Red Wings, who are sitting at 5-1-0. It's all well and good that the Bruins are undefeated, but they've had a fluff schedule so far. They've beat Anaheim, San Jose, and Chicago with only 2 wins against quality opponents in the Predators and Kings. It's worth noting that the Bruins are once again a stellar defensive team. They've only given up 7 goals through 5 games, and despite losing all of that offensive gusto, the legacy of Patrice Bergeron lives on in their defensive game. The Red Wings have been a far more impressive team with wins against quality opponents in the Sens, the Lightning, the Pens, and the Flames, with an additional win against the Blue Jackets. The Leafs and Lightnings have been plagued by serious defensive woes, and Tampa in particular cannot wait to get Vasilevsky back from injured reserve. Their back end looks really shaky without him, and they need him to shore things up. Toronto, as we will continue to say, is very bad on their own end. Their defense is terrible. They have bad defensive structure, and they do not play good team defense. They have good players. They just cannot play defense. So they need to figure that out. If this season keeps up the way it is, the Bruins are going to win the Atlantic Division, as scary as that is. Finally, in the Metro Division, this division has looked terrible out of the gate. Every team has had great games, and every team has had some really terrible ones as well. Carolina's 3-3, but in a very uncharacteristic move for the Hurricanes, they have given up 30 goals against, the most in the NHL by far. The Rangers came out of the gate and smoked Buffalo 5-1, and then despite winning 2-1 against Arizona, their offense was pretty stagnant in the Columbus, Arizona, and Nashville games. The Devils have been great offensively, but every single one of their games has been an overtime or 1-goal game, and they are also struggling defensively. Honorable mentions here, Pittsburgh and Washington have looked terrible, especially Ovechkin on Washington. And Pittsburgh is still going with Jari and Nets, so they're still not a threat, like, ever. A bunch of games for the Rangers this week. They're on a West Coast swing. They got the Flames Tuesday, Edmonton Thursday, Vancouver Saturday, and the Jets on Monday. It's only one of 2 meetings between the Rangers and these West Coast squads, so enjoy the McDavid show, and we'll see how the Rangers stack up against Western Canada. Till next week, this has been your 150.
Yeah, there's not going to be a McDavid show. He's out.
Nope, he's out.
By the way, Ovechkin, he's right. Ovechkin, no goals so far for Washington in 4 games.
And 0 shots, 2 games in a row. First time in his career.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, great job, Mikey. Thank you for the rundown. I picked against the Bruins. I knew I shouldn't have done it. What are they, 5-0 or something? It's ridiculous.
And
they have a 19-year-old. They have a 19-year-old playing center, second line center.
He mentioned the Bergeron effect still sticking around. They healthy scratched DeBrusque for missing a team meeting.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that up to Mikey because I questioned the DeBrusque situation when he held out and his attitude.
Yeah.
Well, the Bruins are 5-0. The Vegas Golden Knights are 6-0. The Avalanche are 5-0, and the Stars are 3-0-1. Pretty impressive. Detroit also, Coach, you picked them to make the playoffs pretty high this year. They're 5-1 to start the year. Looking good so far for you.
They're doing good.
All right.